Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes. We are with our Stalker, level 36 now. 3/4 of a mil to go to get to level 37. We have 26.5 million influence, which is plenty for our level 37 upgrade to our enhancements. We have modified our character to have double accuracy on several of our powers. Basically, half of our attack powers have double accuracy. Assassin's Eclipse also has increased accuracy because that's how Stalker attack assassin powers work. So basically, 4 of our powers have pretty good accuracy on them. And because of that, we are doing +2 missions. We are working on the Mass Duplicity Nemesis story arc, and we're going to Atlas Park. Since we're at the train station, we'll just take the train. And I'm an idiot. Let's go back. Okay. Take the train and go straight to Atlas Park and continue dealing with +2 and +3 nemesis. And so I've been pretty happy with the way this character has played in the +2 missions. I didn't last time we did it. I did it for 1 mission, I think maybe 2, and I said, okay, I'm too frustrated. But we've been hitting a little bit more. I'm still thinking about how I want to run these. What I want to put in here for these inspirations. I typically run with this sort of a tray for a melee character, and I haven't had any reason to really change it yet, but we might need to carry some more yellows. We'll see what happens. Now at level 40, we're going to get another row, so we'll have 4 yellows. What we might end up doing is, say, go with 6 yellows and 2 reds. Maybe even go with 2 rows of yellows, 1 row of reds, and then 2 blues, 2 greens, because we have our own blue and green right here, right? We can get our own health and endurance just from popping these powers. So maybe we don't need as many of those. I mean, I'm just going to have to sort of play it by ear a little bit and just see how I think it's going to go. And then, we'll figure it out from there. And there's a first sniper, right? So these guys have really long range. He's aiming down the hallway, but there's nothing here. Snipers are the sort of guys, if there was a sniper all the way down on this, well, you can't see it now, but like if there's a sniper all the way down that's standing on this little green box, he could attack me and hit me over here, right? These guys are lieutenant rank, even though it doesn't say that, it says sniper, but they have the stats of a lieutenant. But they don't do the buff on defeat. So if I one-shot him, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Another 99 on the Assassin Strike. I mean, the last episode I shot was today. I just am rolling so many scores over, so many dice rolls over 90. It's so frustrating. Well, we got him, and as you can see, he didn't buff this guy. Now that guy will buff anybody nearby, but I don't see anybody nearby, so we can take him out. Hopefully we won't roll another 99 or 98. Okay, we hit that time. So they're not quite close enough to be buffed. Oh, he didn't get defeated yet. I don't think they're quite close enough to be buffed. Now, who's shooting me? Anybody? I thought maybe there was a sniper. As I said before, they can be quite long range. I was watching a video the other day of like talking about how many alts the person has in City of Heroes. Oh, look at that. Purple sniper. That guy's not a sniper, okay. Nice. This is a +3 sniper. We will soon be fighting level 40 enemies, guys. Very soon. And there we go. You get Mongo, like just huge amounts of XP. So let's take a look. 1200 XP for a single minion, right? And hang on. We're one beat in, right? So this is 90%, 700,000. So we had like, it was like 900,000 to level up, and 1200 per. So what do you have to defeat? Like 750 of them, I think, right? To level up, something like that. Did that in my head because my phone's not here, it's charging right now. Now at some point we do need to get Touch of Fear. I think it will be useful to have, but I'm prioritizing focused accuracy and I-beams over that. So I don't know if we're going to get it. Like, it may be a very long time before we get Touch of Fear. Now these guys are lieutenants. I'm not sure if the sergeant major's buff, and we won't be able to find out because there aren't any minions here. This guy also +3. So what you can see now is the purples are always going to be bosses and lieutenants in this mission. Not all bosses and lieutenants. Well, all the bosses will be purple, right? Because +2 boss, +0 is orange, +1 is red, +2 and above is purple. So all the bosses will be purple. And any +3 lieutenant will be purple. And so this is why I don't like going too high. Because once you're at +3, right, everything but minions is going to be purple to you. And so if you go to +4, everything's purple, and you can't see who is higher rank just by looking at the color of their name. So like these guys are both red. You might think they're a lieutenant, right? But they're not. They're minions, right? But they're +3 minions. And then these guys are orange. They're +2 minions. I am not waiting for this. That was what, another 90 something, right? I mean, maybe not, since they're +3. It might have only been like 85% to hit. I definitely like this difficulty level better. Misses aside, this feels more correct to me than +1. +1 I just was a little too easy. I feel like I should have worked the accuracy a little more earlier on and gone to +2s in the earlier 30s. Right? One of the things that them being +3s forces me to do is to look a little bit and make sure I know who's around and stuff. Whereas if I'm just facing yellow cons with orange lieutenants, like, I don't even have to worry about that because they can't do anything to me. But with these guys, I have to make sure, okay, if there's a purple lieutenant around, I need to know where it is. I'm not afraid of it, but if I get jumped by one when I'm fighting some red minions, that becomes very dangerous. Now, eventually it won't be. When we have everything slotted, when we have our focused accuracy, probably around 41, 42. I don't know why I did that. See, I just reflex, I see red and I think I have to use build-up, but I don't. See, I didn't check around the corner either, which I should have done. In the higher levels, once we get into the 40s, there won't, like, even if they jump us, we probably will be fine. But for right now, where we're sort of just barely able to do the +3s, we really don't want to get jumped by +3s. So now we're looking for 2 clues. We haven't found any yet. But this is a pretty big warehouse. So guys, here I asked you guys to post your favorites. People have posted their favorite factions and archetypes and things like that. in the comments. Oh, darn, he's only +2. Warhulks. These guys are brutal. And we might want to pop Overload for that. Mainly because when they die, they blow up and they do a huge AoE, and unless you have good dodge, it will do damage. Now we have pretty good energy defense. It'll be about 32 because the stealth buff will be lost, but we could go with just a luck instead of popping Overload. I'll think about it. Anyway, we talked about favorites of a lot of things. Here's a question: what's your favorite map? Do you like warehouses? Do you like do you like warehouses? Do you like the labs? Do you like the offices? Do you like Ornbega, caves, sewers? What's your favorite type of mission map? This is for the instance missions, of course. I'm not talking really about the like the street maps. We talked about our favorite zones too. A lot of people like gonna have to rest for our first time in a long while, but that's mostly because we got the Warhulk coming. And I don't want to waste energize before we get to the Warhulk. Yeah, what's your favorite map? And I just say I'd have to think about it. I think the labs. I love the way the labs look. I think they're very cool. But I also like warehouses because they don't have different levels. So as soon as you walk in, you can see how big the mission's going to be. Whereas with offices and labs and stuff, you never really know. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to eliminate this guy. I don't know if we can take him out without aggroing the Warhulk. Let's try it. And pull out and see. Nope, we aggroed him. So let's pop Overload. Let's just go ahead and do it. It's the easiest thing to deal with. Let's placate so we can get our big hit in. So these are another one. When they die, they blow up. I wish they would do like a little beep 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 and then blow up. Mostly because that would give you, again, if you're a clever player who's watching what's going on, it would give you it would give you a chance to recognize what's going on and play intelligently and get out of the way. I kind of wish they did a little bit more of that. Now, what I don't like, I will say this, there are some missions, as you get into the higher levels, there are some missions where they have an enemy where it's like you're fighting him and he'll call like, I don't know, an aerial strike down on you and a little red circle comes out and you have to like dodge the circle. Don't necessarily like that. But I wouldn't mind if you had just a second to get away from the AoE, you know? Too much is based on, well, once it goes off, even if you see it happening, if you pull back or jump away, you know, if you do this and jump away, it's still gonna oh, is there a sniper? There's a sniper. I'm getting hit by a sniper. There he is. Where is he? Where are you? There you are. You see? Those guys can hit you from anywhere. I like that, actually. Here. And the one thing to watch out for is you can be in areas like this that are huge where you're getting hit by multiple snipers at the same time. And that can actually do a lot of damage. Because they're very accurate. So there's another sniper up above who's getting aggroed to me. Right? There. There is a setting, by the way, in COH. I have to check. I don't know exactly where it is, but I thought there was a setting where you could set it to auto-target someone who's shooting you. So if you don't have anybody targeted and you start getting hit, it will target that. And I'm pretty sure I used that to good effect to go after snipers in places like Founders Falls. Got him. We're lucky we had Overload on, because we would have taken much more damage. Okay, overload is about to stop, so let's turn these off. Why do I turn them off when they're going to turn off themselves? Well, because by the time this stops, they're all back. So as soon as we get our endurance back, we can turn them back on. And in the meantime, we can click this. So while we're waiting for overload to stop, let me go ahead in the options here and let's see if I can find... Um, Controls... No, I thought there was an option. Collaborative missions, just enable. I thought there was an option. Guys, if you know where it is, let me know. But I thought there was an option in City of Heroes where you could set it so that if you got attacked, it automatically targeted the guy who attacked you. Right? And so that you could tell who, like, if you were just walking down the street and you got hit, boom, you targeted the guy, and you could basically, if you were a ranged character, you could just shoot back, right? And if you're not a ranged character, at least you have them targeted. So, if anybody knows where that option is, go ahead and post it in the comments, and I'll go back and show people. Ooh, this is going to be tough. Where's the glowy? Right here. Am I visible to any of them? I don't think so. Let's go grab it. That's not it. We're hidden again. This is going to be tough because these guys might juice each other. So what I'm going to try to do is hit this guy, and then I'm going to come around back here and see if I can pull the lieutenant away. There's nobody up above for him to buff. Come here. You gonna see me? Come on. Come on, you should be coming over here. No? Oh, he's a sniper. They don't pull. Never mind. And they also don't juice, so he's fine. Yeah, you cannot pull snipers. That guy's also a sniper. Okay, that's actually easier. Except I got into his line of sight. Yeah, that's actually easier to deal with snipers, as long as you don't have 2 or 3 of them shooting at you while you're dealing with this one. So big open rooms like this, when there are snipers around, are potentially dangerous. Because if there's a sniper up there, he's going to start shooting at me, right? So you can imagine, if I start this fight, and the sniper's over here can see me, and there's a sniper up here can see me, and there's a sniper up here that can see me, and they all start shooting at me, while I'm fighting this guy, you can die really fast to that. You can die very, very quickly. But there were no snipers up here. Instead, we just have the support automatons. Again, +3. I would say probably half of the enemies in this mission have been +3. Huge amounts of XP from them. Alright, so this one mission, I think that's all we've done, right? We gained like 100,000 XP. Well, maybe not. Like 50,000, 60,000. We gained a lot. So one thing to keep in mind when you're doing like +2 and +3 missions, you get XP much faster, right? So if you don't want to level up too fast, don't do that. Right? And you say, well, Scrapper, didn't you put it on higher because the lower stuff was too easy? Yes, that's true. But you can do things to make it so that the lower stuff isn't too easy, right? Don't, and you could use DOs instead of SOs or something like that. And after all, if we're talking about trying not to level as fast, then if that's your goal, then you need to respect that goal and do what you need to do to make what you want happen, right? You can't put on sets, do plus 4 times 8, and then complain you level too fast. You also can turn XP off if you want. I wish instead of turning it off, there was a slider and you could turn it down. That would actually be what I would really love. Actually, in City of Heroes, I doubt they can do this, but what I would really love is a slider like this, maybe like this, right? With normal XP gain right here. You could chunk it up a little bit if you want, and you could also chunk it all the way down to 0. So you could cut it to 3/4, half, 1/4, 0, or plus 1/4. I would love something like that, so that if people want to gain XP faster, they can, and if they want to gain XP more slowly, they can. I would love some kind of a dial like that, a slider, that would enable us to raise and lower the XP gain to suit our own preferences. Now, you can do it more coarsely by doing, like if you remember with Silver Phoenix, to have her XP rate, what I was doing was turning the XP gain on and off for alternating missions. Right, so this mission we gain XP, next mission we don't, and that was so I didn't outlevel my contacts. And then if I got close to outleveling, like got to level 19, and I hadn't done all the level 15 to 19 story arcs, then I just turned off XP until I did them. Right. So by the way, one thing I do want to mention, since I've talked about war games, and actually role-playing games can be this way too, so it's sort of an interesting comment. As I said, I've been playing these 3 different war games. SGS Pacific D-Day, which is part of a larger package of games by SGS that does sort of strategy games similar to Avalon Hill and Victory Games, with instead of hexes, they do regions, and you conquer the regions, and there's a stacking limit, and so on and so forth. And Lock and Load Digital, I actually just got the physical rulebook for Lock and Load, which is actually a beautiful hardcover book that's like 300 pages long. It's almost as nice as any like role-playing game hardcover book like Pathfinder or D&D that you could buy, maybe even nicer. It's quite nice, full color, beautifully written, beautifully designed. I don't know about the writing yet. I haven't read it. I just got it today. So that's a Hex Encounter squad-based game, similar to Squad Leader, as I understand it. And then Panzer Corps 2, which is kind of a cross between a Hex Encounters game and what would you want to call it, like Company of Heroes, sort of. But it's not real time. It's turn-based. And so both of them are all 3 of them are really interesting games, and I've enjoyed playing all 3. All of them are turn-based, and all of them, whether they're campaign-based, which one of them is, or individual scenario-based, which 2 of them are. So campaign-based is Panzer Corps. The other 2 are based on scenarios. They'll give you related scenarios. So Pacific D-Day is the invasion of various different islands like Saipan and Iwo Jima and so on and so forth during the end of the Pacific side of the World War II. And Lock and Load, you can get scenarios for anything you want. I happen to have also gotten World War II U.S. versus Japan, just sort of to compare. And that one's much more unit-based, like squad-based, just, oh, we need to take a hill, right? Whereas SGS is we need to take the whole island. All of these games, as I'm playing them, they're really interesting. But one of the things that they all do is they have a victory point system. This is very common in strategy games, where you get victory points for doing certain things. Now, because these are all World War II that I've been doing, the conflicts are known, right? We know, for instance, that the U.S. invaded Saipan. We know that they were victorious. We know how many days it took, and we know how they did it. in Panzer Corps. Like, we know that Germany invaded Poland, we know how long it took them, we know which cities they took when, and we know how many units they lost and how many units Poland lost and all of that kind of thing. We're going to go get the Warhawk. I just wanted to check in here because we're looking for clues. Okay, there's no surgeon here, so we don't have to start with him. Level +2. I think we're going to just go ahead and do Overload again since it worked last time. Why not? And so anyway, what the way that a lot of these games are designed is what you're trying to do is match or beat what happened in reality, right? So if each turn takes a day, and it took 1 week to win this battle, then you get 7 turns, and you have to take the various parts of the island or the various towns in the country or whatever that the Germans or the Americans or the Japanese actually took, or hold out as long as the Japanese held out. Right, so if you're in Iwo Jima and Iwo Jima took a certain, I don't remember how many days, and the Japanese lost, if you're playing Japan, you're going to lose the battle, right? There's no chance that you're going to actually win because the setup of the units is such that since it's like real life, and in real life the Japanese lost, they basically designed the game for you to lose that battle. But if you can last an extra day or two, you might win the game on victory points, even though you lose the actual battle, right? So the whole purpose of doing this is to outperform the baseline, right? So a lot of times what happens is the playtesters in these games, they figure out, okay, what's the kind of best case, if both sides play the best possible, what's the best case scenario? They set that as basically the 0 victory point condition or whatever, or you both get an equal number of victory points, let's say 25 each. There's 50 to earn. And then what will happen is if the American player can play better than baseline, better than average, or better than reality, they'll earn more than half the victory points. They'll earn more than 50% of the victory points. So instead of getting 25 and 25, it'll be 30 and 20. And then they're awarded the victory, right? That's how they do it with a lot of these games. So, to some degree, what I realized as I was, playing through Lock and Load, but the other ones are also this way. The way the victory points work, like it's not like can you conquer Saipan? Yeah, you can if you go long enough, but they don't give you enough turns to probably conquer the entire island. What they give you is enough turns to conquer all the victory points that they asked you to do, right? And so, in 26 turns, I took all but like one network of tunnels, and they reward the way the victory points work. They awarded me a minor victory, right? Because I didn't take all the tunnels. I didn't quite do as well as the Americans did in the time period that the Americans had to do it. And the same thing with. At one point, I was fighting the Viet Cong in Lock and Load in one of the introductory scenarios, and the Viet Cong were keeping me away from taking a couple of huts that had secret information in it or something like that, right? And at the end of it was like an 8-turn scenario. At the end of the 8 turns, I was like 1 turn away from getting this stuff, right? And they couldn't have stopped me next turn. It's not like you wouldn't be able to actually achieve the goal eventually. But the question is, can you achieve the goal in 8 turns? And so what I realized as I was doing this, as I was playing these things, and we're going to have to get this guy first because otherwise he'll heal the Warhawk, is that these... can we get away from this guy and not... We didn't aggro him? Sweet! What I realized is that these war games, when they set up these scenarios with the victory points and you have a limited number of turns and so forth, what they're really doing is it's a puzzle. It's not really a battle, right? A battle would be, I'm going to try to defeat your forces. And sure, some of the goals, like in Lock and Load, are just destroy all enemy units, right? And so at the end of 8 turns, if the Japanese have any units left on the board, they win. And if the Americans have defeated all the Japanese units, they win. That's like a conquest, right? But for a lot of these games, it's really sort of a puzzle. Can you find a way to do your assault such that you will not only take all the units off the board, but take them off in 8 turns without losing too many of your units? And often you have to try the scenario multiple times. This is very common in war games. You might have to try the scenario 3, 4, 5 times in order to figure out the way to do it so that you can actually do it in 8 turns. And I know this definitely happened in Lock and Load. For the first 2 scenarios, they weren't that hard, and I was able to win. The next 2 in the base game, I really struggled with, and I've still never won the 4th one. But the 3rd one, after about 4 tries, I figured it out, and I realized, wait a minute, we've gotten rid of the overload, right? Yeah, we don't have it. Yeah, okay. I was trying to figure out if I had it, if I was gonna have to wait for it to drop, but we're in 5 minutes, so it must have dropped already. Too busy talking. So, you know, you can do it however you want, but a lot of times there are only a few options where it's actually viable to win in the time allotted. And so I was looking at this one game called Unity of Command and it looked kind of cool, but a lot of people complained that as a it's not really a war game. They said it's a puzzle game. And as I said, a lot of these are puzzles, but the complaint of that one is it's too much of a puzzle and not enough of a war game. In the sense that it's so stringent in terms of the timing that there's only one real way to do it, and if you don't do it the one right way, you can't solve the game. Hang on, let me pause for just a sec here. Sorry, one of my neighbors has something going on with their car where their horn just starts honking randomly at night, and I thought I heard it again, but seems like it's not. I think I'm hearing some background sound from COH. Like glowies and stuff, maybe. Yeah, because there's a glowy here. Maybe I was just hearing that very faintly. But as I was thinking about this, right, I said, well, to a certain degree, all of them are puzzles, but this sounds a little extreme and maybe is probably not for me, because I don't mind a puzzle, but what I don't like is there's only one way to solve it. I know that I did, like Panzer Corps or the Invasion of Norway, I was pretty stymied. I tried that a couple of times, and then I kind of looked it up, and somebody was like, yeah, you have to make sure that you use the paratrooper units to good effect. They give you a couple at the beginning, and whoever it was said, don't discount the units that aren't part of your core that you level up and stuff, but are just given to you for one adventure, for one mission. Don't discount those units and the particular type of units, because they're probably giving you something that is going to be necessary. And then he also said, remember, you're in the mountains, so you might want to get some mountain troops. So I did do that, and it worked much better. But that's just sort of the setup. I was able to pursue that battle however I wanted. I used quite a bit of air power in that battle, and I don't know if that was the right or wrong thing to do in terms of optimality, but I still was able to. The one time I played it, I got to within one turn of winning. Like, you had, I want to say, you had 20 turns, and on turn 20 I had taken 5 of the 6 cities you're supposed to take, and I had surrounded the 6th one, which was Lillehammer, famous from having been in the Olympics, where the Olympics were held in Winter Olympics in 90, I think 4 or 8, 4 I think, and I had it surrounded. I would have beaten it the next turn, but I ran out of time. I just couldn't get there fast enough. But otherwise, I did really well on it, and I was pretty happy with. These guys do a lot of damage. I was pretty happy with how it performed, even when I lost. So I knew, okay, as long as I realize that I have to get to Lillehammer, which is kind of at the back of the map, ASAP, I should be fine. And I was able to win on turn 18 or 19, I think, which I really liked, right? And as soon as you get the victory condition, it stops, right? So even if there's unconquered territory, you can still, you can't like continue playing and conquer more territory because, again, you've solved the puzzle, right? So I don't mind some of it being having the puzzle aspect, but I don't necessarily want to be solving a puzzle that's so strict that if you don't do exactly what they want at exactly the time they expect you to do it, that you can't succeed at all. I think that's too stringent. But anyway, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about role-playing games and how if you think about a role-playing game, right, like Dungeons and Dragons or something, you're in a battle. You can see this with the games like probably Baldur's Gate, and I know for sure Solasta. You can see that they're kind of like puzzles too, right? You have a certain number of spells, you have some potions maybe, you have weapons, you have characters who have different strengths and weaknesses, and the enemy is attacking you and they have different strengths and weaknesses, and so you're trying to defeat the enemy before your characters die, right? And it's kind of a similar thing. You're not doing victory points, but lots of times you end up in a role-playing game doing a battle, and especially if it's a computer game, right? You don't do this as much when you're in person, but if it's a computer game, you can save and reload. And where is this thing? You can save and reload and try again. Here we go. And stop it. Go away. Go away. You can save and reload and try again. And there were times when I was playing Solasta where I had to try a battle 3 or 4 or 5 times before I figured out, oh, this is how I have to approach this battle, right? So again, it's sort of like a puzzle, and I realized that, a lot of my favorite moments in role-playing games come from being in some sort of a situation, not always a battle, but where you're basically trying to solve a puzzle. I like solving puzzles, I guess, and it's a lot of fun. And it's the same thing here. If you think about, like, okay, the War Hulk, right? If the War Hulk has a surgeon, it's a different circumstance than if he doesn't. If I have overload up, it's a different circumstance than if I don't. If he's +2, it's different than if he's +3. Okay, how do I solve that problem, right? This is a problem to solve. How do you solve it? I'm going to hit overload, and because there's no surgeon here, I can just hit build up and assassinate, right? And then I'm going to ignore the ally of this guy, and I'm just going to pound the crap out of him. And because he's only +2 and not +3, and I have some pretty good chances to hit him here, right? Doing okay. I'm going to just pound him, and I should hit him most of the time, and that takes care of it, right? So we've solved the puzzle. We've solved that problem. And really, in a very real sense, role-playing games are essentially critical thinking and problem-solving experiences, just like a tactical war game. You're not just fighting battle, right? You may be trying to figure out how to solve a different problem, like how to convince the king to not kill somebody, or how to convince the shop owner to give you an item that you can't afford, right? You're solving a problem, and I guess I really enjoy problem solving. I always kind of have. I remember when my English professor in freshman year gave us some really cool puzzles, and he was doing like, how do you solve problems and stuff, in terms of, okay, you've solved the problem intellectually, now how do you write about it and explain it? I always remember the one where he said there are 3 criminals condemned to death, and the king decides to give the smartest one a reprieve. And so he shows, there's one of them's blind and the other 2 can see, And he describes her the blind man and shows the other two so that they know that it's true, and the blind man knows he's not lying. There were 5 hats, 3 white hats, and 2 black hats. He then puts the men in a circle so they can only see the other two. The blind man can't see anybody, but each of the other guys can only see the blind man and the other guy. Can't see anybody else. And from behind, he puts a hat on each one of their heads. And he says, if you can tell me what color your hat is, and they can't see their own hat, I'll give you a pardon, right? So 3 of the hats were white, 2 were black. You look at the other 2, you can see what they're wearing, but not what you're wearing. A period of time passed when nobody says anything. And then the blind man said the color of his hat and was correct. How was he able to do that? Wow, what is going on? My computer fan is going bananas. Wonder what's going on with that. That doesn't usually happen in COH. Oh, we're overloading. We gotta stop. Hang on. That's really weird. It's almost like the overload was affecting my computer as well as me. The fan noise went bananas, and now it's stopped. I wonder what happened. Okay, our endurance is starting to tick up again, so we can put this stuff on. Okay, guys, so I think we've done enough for tonight. This is still continuing mass duplicity, but we will continue that next time. We got a few enhancements, but not too many. We get any good recipes? Oh, we got some accuracy. Got some healing. These are level 40s now, right? So what's going to happen now is because these guys are way above us, they're 38 and 39, a lot of them are going to be dropping level 40 recipes, which we will not be able to use until level 37. But that's okay. We'll take care of that. And, we only have about 70% of the level, and then we'll be level 37. We can put the 40s on that we need, and we can... we'll have 3 more enhancement slots, or we can buff up our powers. Let's take a look actually before we stop. Where are we going to put them? I think we're going to finish Energize for sure. And then we have 2 more. I hate that Disrupt is just sitting here, but at this point I don't think it's a priority. So I feel like we can finish Siphon Life and put double heals on it. It's not going to be increasing our damage, but then that's taken care of and we finish this power. At 38, we get focused accuracy, and at 39, we'll probably add some more stuff to... Maybe we'll finish Shadow Punch, or we'll add more to Midnight Grasp. We'll see. I mean, maybe I'll do 1 heal on Siphon Life and put an Endurance Reducer on Midnight Grasp. And then finish Energize. I mean, we'll have to see how we play. I feel like this character is doing really well. I mean, we've done 2 episodes now of +2 missions without any face plants, so I'm pretty happy with that. And until next time, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes, soloing the Stalker.